Live from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS2 News at 5 p.m.
Now at 5, the rain is already falling. The question in the burn areas tonight, of course, is will the hillsides hold? From K-rails to sandbags, people all over the burn areas are doing what they can to hold back possible mudslides from the rain.
In fact, the danger is so real, there are a lot of people who have already packed up and headed out. We have breaking news from the Holy Fire burn area, where there are now mandatory evacuations in place for more than 1,000 homes. That includes these zones: Ambrose, I should say, Albert Hill, Glen Ivy A, Glen Eden, Grace, Horse Thief A, Laguna A,
Maitrey, McVicker A, Rice, and Withrow A. We have live team coverage on the mudslide risks, the evacuations, and the preparations. But first, we have CBS 2's Garth Kemp here in studio tracking the storm. Garth?
Yeah, good afternoon, Pat. We are tracking flash flood watches that will be going into effect tomorrow morning, starting mid-morning or so, all the way through the evening hours in the green areas. You're seeing the areas we just basically named off. You can see it from Anaheim, Irvine, down to the OC area, then out towards Palm Springs, up towards the San Bernardino, Riverside County mountains as well. We are expecting rainfall rates between 1/2 inch to 1 inch of rain. All the tans we're seeing out here right now, these are wind advisories. Tomorrow they go online as well for the area. We're going to get gusty 35, 40-mile-an-hour winds into this area. I also have a high surf advisory. I've pulled off the map just because it makes it just too confusing on this map. These are the areas we are concerned with as the system right now continues to be up to the north. Whatever little rain we're getting right now is just some prefrontal rain. The bulk of this stuff really starts to move in late tonight, all the way in through tomorrow. That is the danger for the burn areas. Out towards the Malibu area and up towards Bell Canyon, those fires, we're still looking below threshold of 1/2 inch an hour right now, which means debris flow, but not necessarily life-threatening right now in that area. We're keeping an eye. Your full forecast coming up in a few minutes. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks for that, Garth. Now, in spite of mandatory evacuations in areas around Lake Elsinore because of the Holy Fire, crews are still working to protect people and homes.
CBS 2's Tina Patel gives us a look at what they're doing.
Riverside County flood control crews have been in a race against time ever since the Holy Fire ravaged the hills and canyons above Lake Elsinore and Corona this summer.
These canyons hadn't burned for 75 years. This is a very intense fire. The chances of debris flows out of these canyons is very high, and they could be very large.
That's why crews have removed more than 2,500 truckloads of dirt from this basin that sits between the scorched hillsides and the neighborhoods below.
Knowing that threat, we're doing everything we can to maximize the capacity of this facility so it'll hold back the largest event possible.
But they know if the rains come down hard, all the flood control measures they've taken in the burn areas may not be enough, which is why they've already sent evacuation warnings to hundreds of homeowners in at-risk neighborhoods.
We did get the notice on our cell phones and on our home phone that it was an evacuation warning.
But Robert Lukasik and his wife aren't too worried yet. Since they live at the end of their street, they think they can take a wait-and-see approach.
Last time the fires came, we loaded up our motorhome with everything we had, and we're ready to go at a moment's notice. So we'll do the same thing again, and if we see the mud coming down, we'll have to go.
They're not the only homeowners hoping evacuations won't be necessary, that the efforts of emergency crews will be enough to save their homes again.
Fire department and everybody have been so proactive and so helpful that I think that we'll be protected from it.
In Corona, Tina Patel, CBS 2 News.
There is also big concern in the Woolsey fire burn areas where barren hillsides have the potential to unleash, I should say, a lot of mud and boulders.
Yes, CBS 2's Randy Page is live in Malibu where some houses are in danger if that mud crashes down. Randy.
And Pat and Jeff, here it is. This is what Malibu is up against. It's getting a little bit dark, but you can see the home right across the street from us, and behind them, very large hillsides that are completely barren. Here's a look from Sky 2 taken earlier. You can see a little bit better, a little bit brighter just a short time ago. You can see this big old debris basin there and also a wooden border to try to hold it from these homes. Well, that debris basin is going to be collecting all of the debris and mud coming down off those hillsides, and it is extremely a dangerous situation for people just on the other side. Stephen Quartz lives in the home directly in the path.
We're waiting and seeing and just keeping an eye on it and monitoring the forecast, and probably will evacuate sooner rather than later just to be safe.
One glance at the hillside behind Stephen Quartz's home shows why he's concerned. And he's not alone. Contractor Andy Jackson has lived in Malibu for 60 years. So how bad is it?
It's the worst one I've seen as far as fire and then the threat of flood afterwards.
Jackson is grabbing sandbags to help friends prepare for the worst. He says his home isn't at risk, but many of his friends lost homes in the fire, and others could be in the path of potentially devastating mudslides. How dangerous do you see this?
As far as the flood goes, extremely. Depending on the amount of rain that we get, it has the capacity to be devastating.
That's why Stephen and Karen Quartz are planning to evacuate long before the mud has a chance to move. In fact, they're on their way out even before the rain arrives.
Unlike a fire with a debris flow, you can't stop it or fight it, so you better get out of the way. And I think the earlier the better.
And it's part of living in this place. Unfortunately, the natural beauty comes with a lot of hazards, and we have an amazing community, and everyone's watching out for each other, and so we feel like we're going to be okay.
No rain here yet, but of course we know it's on the way. The real difficulty for authorities in all of these areas is it's so difficult to know when to tell people they have to leave because there's really little warning before the mud actually breaks through. They have to make a guess. And the concern is if they try to get people to leave with mandatory evacuations before they're absolutely necessary, we have a long winter ahead of us. And they're concerned people will think they're crying wolf and eventually will not leave when they absolutely have to. So the best advice we're hearing from all the folks in this neighborhood and also from authorities here is if you're told it's a good idea to leave, play it safe and leave, because you have so little warning, as we saw in Montecito, seconds in some cases from the time it comes from the hill into your home, and that's how people get killed. Let's go back to you.
Yeah, Randy, that one word, Montecito, will make people listen. All right, thanks very much. After a third psychological evaluation, the man accused of setting the holy fire will stand trial. A judge made the ruling today. In past court hearings, Forrest Gordon Clark has refused to even get out of his cell. He's had disruptive outbursts. Today, the judge reset bail at $1 million. The holy fire burned more than 23,000 acres and destroyed 18 homes in Orange and Riverside counties.
The search continues for a sexual predator who assaulted a teenage girl in Santa Ana. Police say the man approached the girl Saturday at Cabrillo Park in the 1800 block of East Fruit Street. They say the 14-year-old girl was sitting on a bench when he sat next to her. He pulled a knife on her when she started to walk away. He then assaulted her on the bench. Police released a sketch of the suspect. The man was wearing a white button-up shirt, blue-gray shorts, and a black belt with a silver buckle. Now, if you have any information, you're asked to call Santa Ana Police.
A fight over doves not being released at a funeral has led to a search warrant, and then that landed a Huntington Beach man in jail. Making this case more bizarre is what detectives found inside that man's home. CBS2 Orange County reporter Michelle Gili is live at Laguna Beach with this disturbing discovery. Michelle.
Mitchell Todd is booked behind me here, Pat and Jeff, at the Laguna Beach jail, being held on charges of criminal threats. As you said, this dispute is all over a funeral, and now police are trying to figure out why this man has so many guns, what his plans were with those guns. And we talked to his next door neighbor about it all.
He never really told me. He just said that he just had multiple guns and rifles there at the house, just kind of let me know.
Mitchell Todd's next door neighbor in Huntington Beach saw police haul more than 50 guns and several pounds of ammunition out of the house on Cambay Lane Tuesday. He, like detectives, is unsure why Todd kept such an arsenal.
That seems to be the million-dollar question right now, as we went from not only the garage, but to room, and there was one weapon after the next, and it was absolutely the wow factor.
Laguna Beach police say 12 of the guns are registered to Mitchell Todd. Their attention was drawn to him after hearing what they describe as an ominous voicemail allegedly sent by Todd to a man who he claims owes him money.
One of the last voicemails that we heard was the actual racking of a firearm, the slide release. It's a very distinct sound, and without actually saying a word, just hearing that was the implication that, hey, guess what? Something could happen.
Officials say 51-year-old Mitchell Todd owns these doves that he brings to weddings and funerals. The dispute, according to detectives, centers around the birds and Todd's failure to wait at a funeral long enough to release them. Police say they found the doves and the guns and also this Nazi paraphernalia. Not a complete surprise to the neighbor who remembers that Mitchell Todd once painted swastikas on the front of his house.
And I saw it, and one of the neighbors came up, and I went over there and talked to them and said I didn't think that was a good idea to have that. And with my family here, you know, it wasn't good for the neighborhood. And the next day he removed it.
That neighbor says he remembers back then, many years ago, that Mitchell Todd was angry about something. Now, he says he wouldn't describe him as a white supremacist. He says he's a quiet guy who has some issues as a result of a head injury he sustained many, many years ago. He says that he never saw any of these guns and he never heard Todd shooting them. That's the latest live here in Laguna Beach. I'm Michelle Gili. Back to you.
All right, Michelle, thanks very much. A woman has been arrested for attacking a McDonald's manager in Santa Ana. Police say 24-year-old Myra Gallo walked into a restricted area of the restaurant to ask for ketchup. But when the manager told her to leave, Gallo shoved her into the drink machines and the walls and then began choking her. A man who appeared to know the attacker broke up the fight. Gallo was booked into jail on an assault charge.
A grocery store security camera captured the last time a 79-year-old mother was alive before a hit-and-run driver took her life. Investigators say on Thanksgiving Eve, Marilyn Haight in the Lavender Coat there was shopping at R&G's Food Basket on Pioneer Boulevard. She later walked out with a bag of groceries. Detectives say within minutes, Haight was struck by a vehicle near Lyndale Street. No one from her family knew until the next day when they went to her house to celebrate the holiday. Detectives are searching for that hit-and-run driver.
There's a new sketch and a bigger reward in the murder of a Long Beach man. Fred Taft was shot and killed in late July in the bathroom at Pan American Park. Police say it could be a random killing, possibly a hate crime. Investigators believe the killer was a white man in his 50s who ran away from the scene. Police released this sketch of the suspect. They say he's probably about 6 feet tall, was wearing a hat at the time, a possibly dark shirt, and light shorts. The reward has now increased from $20,000 to $30,000.
Well, ahead here at 5 o'clock, a bizarre rescue, how a teenager became trapped inside an abandoned bank vault.
Plus, an Amazon delivery driver caught on the wrong side of the law. See the hit-and-run crash that was captured on a door camera.
And a major victory for street vendors, the vote that gives them the green light on the streets of Los Angeles.
Then, that now iconic Wall Street statue, it's on the move. Where will that fearless little girl go next?